My world stopped the moment I saw my daughter, my little girl with the leg brace, being dragged across the street by HOA, Karen, her tiny hands scraping the asphalt, her brace twisting sideways as she screamed for help. I wasn't there as a father that day. I was there as the police chief, standing frozen for a split second as the woman who had harassed us for months yanked my injured daughter like she was trash blocking her driveway. Cars honked, neighbors stared, but no one stepped forward. And the look on my daughter's face, that mixture of pain, fear, and betrayal, it ripped something open inside me that no badge, no uniform, no years of training could ever prepare me for. What Karen shouted next, and why she dragged her, left the entire neighborhood in stunned silence and pushed me beyond the edge I never thought I'd cross. If you're watching this right now, I want you to take 1 second and look at your child, your sibling, or someone you love, and imagine seeing them dragged across the street while you stand just a few feet away, unable to process the horror fast enough. That was me, the police chief of Ridgewood County, a man who handled shootings, kidnappings, standoffs, yet nothing in my entire career prepared me for the sight of my leg-braced daughter crying, trembling, and scraping against the pavement while the very woman sworn to keep the neighborhood's standards treated her like an obstacle. Before this story begins, I want to ask you something important. Which city are you watching from? Comment your city below, because families everywhere need to hear what happens when power, arrogance, and cruelty collide. And before we dive in, take a moment and subscribe so you don't miss stories that expose the truth behind closed doors. Now, let's go back to the exact moment everything shattered. It was a warm afternoon, the kind where kids ride bikes, neighbors chat on porches, and everything feels safe, until suddenly it doesn't. My daughter was walking home from physical therapy, moving slowly, carefully doing everything right. And Karen? She wasn't just in a bad mood. She wasn't just having a rough day. She was waiting, watching, ready to strike over something so small, so unbelievably petty, that it still makes my blood boil, even now. What she did, what she said, and the real reason she put her hands on my daughter would ignite a chain of events that no one in our HOA would ever forget. And it all started with a single, chilling scream that tore through the neighborhood like thunder. The moment it happened is burned into my memory with a clarity so sharp it almost feels unreal, like my mind keeps replaying it in slow motion just to torture me. My daughter Lily had just turned 12 a month earlier, a sweet, quiet kid who had spent the last year learning how to walk again after a car accident shattered her leg. The doctors told her recovery would be slow, painful, frustrating, but she never complained. That afternoon, she was returning from her physical therapy session, clutching her school backpack against her chest, taking careful, deliberate steps with her leg brace, each step lifting and setting down with that soft metal click she'd learned to hide behind a brave smile. I was driving home from a meeting with the city council when I spotted her at the end of the street, sun on her hair, determined little stride, the kind that made me feel both proud and protective. I slowed down, ready to pull over and give her a ride home. But then, I saw her, Karen, standing at the edge of her driveway with her arms crossed, chin tilted upward, her posture radiating the kind of entitled rage only a certain kind of HOA board member can carry. She'd been a thorn in my family's side since the day we moved in. Complaining about our mailbox paint being too matte, filing noise reports for Lily's physical therapy stretches on the porch, even demanding we remove our daughter's medical ramp because it didn't match community aesthetics. I'd warned her before. Officially, unofficially, kindly, firmly. Nothing ever changed. But that day, something was different. Her face was tight, eyes narrowed, jaw twitching as Lily approached the crosswalk. I thought she'd just yell again, maybe block her path, maybe spit out her usual venom. I never imagined she'd touch my daughter. Never imagined she'd harm her. And then it happened. Lily reached the crosswalk, stepped off the curb, and Karen lunged. Not walked, not stepped, lunged like a predator zeroing in on prey. She grabbed Lily's backpack strap from behind, jerking her so hard that Lily's knee buckled instantly. My daughter stumbled, screaming, her leg brace twisting sideways as the metal scraped the pavement. And before Lily could even regain balance, Karen yanked again, this time pulling her across the asphalt like she was dragging a bag of garbage, not a child already fighting to stay upright. Lily's palms hit the ground, then her elbow, then her cheek. I heard the sound, skin on pavement, the kind that makes a parent's soul crack. I slammed my brakes, so hard my seatbelt nearly cut into my chest. I jumped out of the car, shouting her name, Lily, but in the chaos, she didn't hear me. Karen didn't either. Or maybe she did, and she didn't care. Her grip was iron. Her voice was venom. "Move faster," she shrieked. "I'm sick of you slowing down the whole street. You kids think you can take as much space as you want." My daughter was crying short, painful gasps, the kind she only makes when the pain shoots straight through her brace into her bones. "Please, please, stop," she begged, her voice cracking. Karen didn't stop. She pulled harder, dragging her, scraping her. My world turned red. All the years of training as police chief evaporated. I wasn't calm. I wasn't controlled. I wasn't the man in uniform entrusted with keeping the peace. I was a father watching his daughter suffer. And something inside me broke. Neighbors stepped outside, frozen, hands over mouths. A delivery driver slowed down, shocked. A couple jogging across the street stopped dead, eyes wide, but none of them moved. Not one. I sprinted toward Karen, every part of me shaking with rage, shouting for her to release my daughter. But before I got close enough to pull Lily away safely, Karen spun around, still clenching the backpack, and shouted something that made everyone's breath stop. If she can't walk normally, she shouldn't be outside. In that moment, it was like the world went silent. My daughter lay on the pavement, her leg brace bent unnaturally, her cheeks wet, her breathing sharp and shallow. I could see the torn skin on her palms. I could see the bruise forming on her knee, and I could see the humiliation on her face, that devastating, soul-crushing humiliation that no child should ever know. Let go of her. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was deep, trembling, shaking with an anger I didn't know I was capable of. Karen turned to face me fully, finally noticing who she had just assaulted. Her eyes flickered, not with regret, not with fear, but with the same petty entitlement she'd shown since day one. "Oh, look," she said with a smirk, "the police chief finally shows up. Maybe teach your daughter not to block community driveways." I stepped closer, ready to grab Lily, but Karen jerked the backpack again, making Lily wince and cry out. That was the moment I saw red, truly saw red. Years of training telling me to keep my distance, assess the situation, remain in control, none of it mattered. All I saw was my daughter in pain. All I heard was her crying. All I felt was a rage I'd never felt before. But before I could react, something unexpected happened. Something that changed everything. A neighbor who had been filming the entire incident stepped forward, trembling, holding up his phone. "Karen," he said, voice shaking, "you need to stop. Right now. You don't know who you're messing with, and you don't know what's about to happen because of this." Karen looked at him, confused. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "What could possibly happen?" And then he said it, loud, clear, terrifying. "You assaulted the police chief's disabled daughter." The entire street fell silent. Karen froze. Lily sobbed. And I finally stepped between them. But what happened next was something even I didn't expect. Something that changed the course of the entire neighborhood and exposed secrets Karen had been hiding for years. The moment I pulled Lily into my arms, everything around me dissolved into background noise, the cars, the whispers, the neighbors pretending not to stare while recording everything on their phones. All I could focus on was the trembling weight of my daughter pressed against my chest, her breath hitching in painful sobs, her fingers clutching desperately at my shirt as if I might disappear too. Her leg brace was bent so sharply it looked like a pretzel, the straps half ripped from the force of Karen's dragging. Lily's voice shook as she whispered, "Daddy, she hurt me," and those 4 words sliced deeper than any knife ever could. But what happened next was the part no one, not even I, expected. Karen, instead of backing down or apologizing, stepped forward with her arms flailing dramatically, acting like she was the victim. "Oh, give me a break," she barked, loud enough for every neighbor to hear. I barely touched her. She threw herself on the ground to make me look bad. That child has been trouble since day one. The crowd gasped. Even the joggers from across the street stopped mid-stride to stare at her, disbelief plastered across their faces. My blood ran cold. I stood up slowly, my daughter still clinging to my side, and looked Karen dead in the eyes. "You dragged a disabled child," I said, my voice low enough to make a few neighbors step back. "You injured her. You harassed her. And now you're blaming her." Karen rolled her eyes, crossing her arms tighter. Disabled or not, she shouldn't be walking so slowly in the middle of the road. People have places to be. If she can't keep up with normal kids, that's not my fault. Maybe she needs to learn a lesson. A murmur of disgust rippled through the crowd. A woman on her porch whispered, "My God, what is wrong with her?" The man who had been recording earlier moved closer, still filming. "Karen, stop talking," he warned. "You're making this worse." But Karen was too far gone. Entitlement had blinded her completely. She jabbed her finger at him. At me, at Lily, anyone who dared stand against her. I have rights too. This is a community with standards. I'm tired of this family ignoring the rules. A ramp that ruins the neighborhood look. A kid making noise every morning with her therapy exercises. Driveway chalk. Weeds in their lawn. Enough is enough. She was unraveling right in front of the entire street, her true colors spilling out like dirty water. And as she ranted, I felt Lily's grip tighten around me. Her small voice trembled against my shoulder as she said, "Daddy, why does she hate me so much?" My heart shattered. Before I could answer, Karen pointed at Lily with a wild expression. "Because your father thinks he's above the rules. Because you get special treatment. I'm not letting you turn this place into a circus." That was it. That was the moment the crowd snapped. A older man from 2 houses down stormed forward. "You drag a child, Karen. A child. And you're yelling at her." A mother on her front steps shouted, "She's 12. She could have broken her leg again." Another voice from the back, "Call the police." And then someone else responded, I asked the police." The entire neighborhood seemed to erupt at once, not in violence, but in outrage. And Karen? She panicked. "You people don't understand," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You don't get what's actually happening here." She looked at me, eyes wide, face flushed, breathing heavy, as if suddenly realizing the gravity of what she had done. But instead of apologizing, she sprinted back toward her house. Not walked, not hurried, ran, full speed, like someone trying to erase evidence of a crime before anyone could stop her. Lily flinched in my arms. "Daddy, is she coming back?" "No," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "You're safe. I promise." But deep inside, I knew this wasn't over. Karen didn't run because of guilt. She didn't run because she feared the police. She ran because she feared something else, something she didn't want anyone to discover. And I wasn't the only one who noticed. The man recording slowly lowered his phone and looked at me with wide, troubled eyes. "Chief, you need to follow her. There's something seriously wrong. And she's hiding it." Before I could ask what he meant, he pointed toward Karen's house, specifically toward her garage door, where a faint metallic clatter echoed, followed by what sounded suspiciously like movement. Not normal movement. Not one person. Multiple. Fast. Panicked. Like someone or several someones scrambling to hide. My instincts kicked in instantly. I handed Lily to the kind neighbor who stepped forward, promising to watch her. Then I straightened up, adjusted my belt, and took one step toward Karen's property. But before I could reach the sidewalk edge, the man filming whispered something that sent a chill down my spine. "Chief, the reason she hates your daughter, the reason she keeps provoking your family, it's not what you think. She's been hiding something in that house for months. And I think your daughter almost found it today." My breath froze. The entire neighborhood went silent. And with Lily injured, the crowd stunned, and Karen disappearing into her home like a criminal fleeing the scene, I realized there was only one thing left to do: find out what Karen was hiding before someone else got hurt. The neighborhood had never been this quiet, not even during the blackout last winter or the tornado warning 2 years ago. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air is waiting for something to explode. I stood at the end of Karen's driveway, watching her front door slam shut. So violently the windows rattled. Lily, now sitting on a neighbor's porch with ice on her knee, looked at me with tearful eyes, her hands trembling as she gripped the porch railing. Every step I took toward that house made my heart twist. A part of me wanted to stay with her, hold her, shield her from everything, but another part, the part trained to protect the entire community, knew I couldn't walk away from whatever danger Karen was hiding inside those walls. Neighbors began gathering in clusters. Some whispered angrily, others looked pale, like they had witnessed something so far out of line that they still couldn't wrap their minds around it. A group of teenage boys who lived 3 houses down approached me, their faces tight with concern. "Chief, she's been acting weird for months," one whispered. "She yells at anyone who walks past her yard. And last week, we heard banging inside her garage, like really loud banging." Another neighbor, a mother holding a toddler on her hip, chimed in. She accused my kid of lowering property value just for riding a scooter. She said she was collecting evidence on all the kids in the neighborhood. Evidence of what? A chill crawled down my spine. This wasn't normal HOA, overreach. This was something darker, something brewing beneath the surface. The man who had filmed the incident stepped forward again. "Chief, there's something else," he said, lowering his voice. "Last week, I saw her dragging something heavy inside her garage. It looked like a box, or a crate, and it was shaking." My eyebrows knit together. "Shaking?" He nodded quickly, like someone was inside it. The crowd gasped. A few mothers instinctively pulled their children closer. And just like that, fear replaced anger. Suspicion replaced outrage. The entire community stood frozen, staring at Karen's house like it was a bomb waiting to go off. I took a slow breath and motioned for everyone to step back to the sidewalk. "Listen," I said, voice steady, "whatever's going on in that house, I'll handle it. But I need everyone to stay calm, stay together, and keep your kids close." A few people nodded. Others didn't move at all. They just stared at me, as if waiting for something bigger, something worse. Then one of the HOA board members, usually a timid woman who avoided all confrontation, walked up to me with her hands shaking. "Chief," she whispered, "a few weeks ago Karen tried to pass a new rule that no disabled children should be allowed on common walkways because they slowed down the flow of traffic. We refused. She lost the vote, and she's been unhinged ever since." I clenched my jaw. Every piece of information was painting a darker picture than the one before. A picture of a woman spiraling, dangerously, violently. Another neighbor, an elderly man leaning on a cane, raised his voice. "She threatened me last month because I asked her to stop yelling at your daughter. She said, and I quote, 'If he won't control it, girl, I will.'" My stomach knotted. Lily had mentioned Karen glaring at her during walks, but she never told me Karen had spoken those words. And now Karen had escalated from verbal harassment to physically dragging my injured daughter across the street. This wasn't a meltdown. This was targeted, intentional, and possibly connected to something hidden inside her home. The murmurs from the crowd grew louder. "She's dangerous. She's obsessed. Call backup." But before I could reach for my radio, the sound hit us. A loud, metallic crash from inside Karen's garage, so forceful it echoed through the street. Mothers gasped. Children jumped. The man holding the phone stepped closer to me. "That's what I was talking about," he whispered, panic creeping into his voice. "That sound. It never stops." Another bang followed, this time sharper, like metal striking concrete. Then a muffled scream. The entire crowd froze. The type of scream that didn't sound like a grown adult. The type of scream that made the hairs on my neck stand up. I put my hand on my holster. "Everyone get indoors. Now." For the first time in 20 years of policing, no one argued. They grabbed their kids, their bikes, their dogs, and scattered into homes like a flock of birds sensing danger. Only a few stayed. The man recording, the HOA board member, and Lily's friend's father, who insisted on staying just in case. Once the street cleared, I took a step toward the house, but the HOA board member caught my arm. "Chief," she said, eyes wide with terror, "there's something you don't know." My pulse kicked up. "What?" She swallowed hard. "Karen, she used to foster kids." The world stopped. "Used to." I pressed. She nodded slowly. "Until the county revoked her license last year. They found discrepancies, complaints, kids disappearing from her care." My blood turned to ice. Disappearing? Before I could respond, the garage door rattled violently, like someone on the inside was trying to force it open. A shadow passed behind the narrow windows. Small, fast, human. The man filming whispered, "Chief, is someone trapped in there?" I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. Because in that moment, standing in front of the house of the woman who had just assaulted my disabled daughter, I realized something horrifying. Lily wasn't Karen's target. She was a distraction. And whatever was inside that garage was the real story, the real danger, the real nightmare. And I was about to open a door that would expose the darkest secret the neighborhood had ever seen. The metallic banging grew louder, faster, almost rhythmic, like whoever or whatever was inside Karen's garage was desperately trying to escape. Years of policing had conditioned my instincts, but nothing could have prepared me for the raw, chilling panic that slithered down my spine as I approached the garage door. The neighbors who stayed behind watched from a distance, their faces pale, eyes darting between me and the house like they were witnessing the opening scene of a horror movie. I gripped my radio but didn't call for backup yet. Not until I knew exactly what I was dealing with. The last thing I needed was squad cars flying down the street, sirens blaring, escalating a situation that could already be dangerously volatile. Another crash rang out, followed by a faint, muffled cry. It wasn't the cry of an adult. It was higher, trembling like a frightened child. My eyes snapped toward the narrow rectangular window near the top of the garage door. Something small moved across it, a shadow. Too small to be Karen. Too quick. Too frantic. I stepped closer, my pulse hammering in my ears. "Is someone in there?" I called out, keeping my voice low. No response. Instead, another thud, this time against the far wall. Lily's friend's father stepped forward, shaking his head. "Chief, this is wrong. This feels wrong." He wasn't wrong. The entire house radiated a kind of dread you can't fake. A kind you only feel in the presence of something truly dangerous, or truly heartbreaking. I tried the garage side door locked. Not unusual, but what was unusual was the fresh dent near the handle, like someone inside had been kicking it from the other side. I knocked hard. "This is Chief Rowan. If someone can hear me, talk to me. I'm here to help." For several seconds, silence. Then a whisper. So soft, I almost thought I imagined it. "Help, please," I stiffened. A child. Definitely a child. My stomach twisted into a knot, so tight I could barely breathe. My mind raced. Was Karen hiding a runaway? A foster kid? She never returned to the system? Someone she took from somewhere else? The HOA board member covered her mouth. Oh God. Oh God. I knew something was off about her. I knew it. Another scream cut her off. Hi. Terrified. Close. Too close. It came from inside the house, this time from upstairs. Not the garage. Not the basement. This wasn't one child. This was more than one. My chest tightened. My hand instinctively moved to my holster. I turned to the small group behind me. "Stay here. Do not come any closer." They nodded, fear plastered on their faces. I approached the front door, noting the scratch marks near the frame. Not animal scratches, thin, shaky lines made by fingernails. They ran down several inches, as if someone had clawed at the door in a desperate attempt to escape. I'd seen this before, but only in cases involving severe abuse or captivity. My throat went dry. I knocked hard, calling out, "Karen, open the door now." This is your final warning. No answer. No movement. Just eerie, suffocating silence. And then the sound that changed everything. A child's voice, very young, trembling. Please don't leave us. That was enough. I stepped back, planted my foot, and kicked the door near the lock. Once. Twice. The third kick splintered the frame, and the door burst open. The smell hit me first, a heavy mix of dust, mildew, and something else, something sour, like spoiled food. The entryway lights were off, curtains tightly drawn. The house was dark except for the vague glow seeping in from the broken doorway behind me. Karen. I called out again. My voice echoed through the house, but nothing answered. I stepped inside. The air was still, suffocating, like the house hadn't been ventilated in months. I moved through the living room, meticulously arranged, spotless, HOA perfect. Not a cushion out of place. Not a magazine misaligned. A fake sense of order covering something deeply wrong. Then I noticed it. Tiny fingerprints on the glass coffee table. Smudged. Small. Not Karen's. Not any adults. Children had been here. Recently. I made my way down the hallway. The smell of bleach grew stronger, sharp, almost nauseating. And then I saw it. A door at the end of the hallway locked from the outside. I froze. A lock on the outside means one thing, keeping someone inside. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. I tried the handle. It rattled but didn't budge. Then a soft thump from within. Hello? I whispered. Another whimper answered. That was all I needed. I kicked the door hard, once, twice, and it cracked open. What I saw inside made my stomach twist. 3 small mattresses on the floor. No bed frames. Thin blankets. Empty bowls. And in the far corner, 2 terrified children. 1 boy, 1 girl, huddled together, eyes red and wide, cheeks streaked with dried tears. They were thin, too thin. Their clothes were dirty, their hair unwashed. They looked like they hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Maybe longer. The girl gasped when she saw my uniform. "Are you here to take us home?" she whispered. My heart shattered. "Yes," I said, kneeling. "I'm here to take you somewhere safe." The boy tried to speak, but burst into tears instead. I gently held out my hand. "It's okay. You're safe now." But before I could coax them out, a sound jolted through the house, footsteps pounding rapidly down the stairs. Heavy, fast, angry. Karen. She wasn't running away. She was coming toward us. The kid screamed and clung to my arms. And in that instant, I realized something far worse than anything I'd imagined. Karen wasn't just abusive. She wasn't just unstable. She was desperate, cornered, dangerous. And I was standing between her and the children she had kept hidden. Her secret was out, and she was willing to do anything to stop me from exposing it. Karen's footsteps thundered down the staircase, so violently that dust drifted from the ceiling vent above me. Every instinct screamed that she wasn't coming to plead. She wasn't coming to explain. She was coming like an animal defending its last corner. I stood, positioning myself between the 2 trembling children and the doorway. My pulse hammered not from fear for myself, but from the knowledge that Karen, a woman already unhinged enough to drag my injured daughter across the street, was now about to confront me with her deepest secret exposed. The thudding stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Silence. Then slowly, Karen stepped into the hallway. Her hair was wild, sticking to her forehead with sweat. Her breathing was sharp, fast, unsteady. Her eyes, those eyes, were wide with a madness I had never seen before, even in the worst criminals I'd arrested. But behind that madness, something else flickered. Fear. Real fear. She locked eyes with me and immediately froze. "Get out," she hissed, her voice low, raspy, not the shrill tone she used outside. "You don't get to be here. You don't get to take them." I kept my hand near my holster, but didn't draw, yet. "Karen," I said, sounding calmer than I felt, "step back. These children need help." She laughed, short, sharp, humorless. "Help? You think you can help them? You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know what they are." The children behind me whimpered, burying their faces against my shirt. I stepped back just enough to shield them with my body. They're scared kids, I said firmly. Kids who've been kept locked in your house. Her expression twisted. No, you don't understand. She gripped her head with both hands, pacing quick, frantic steps as if fighting a battle with herself. They're not supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to stay. I was supposed to give them back. I was supposed to. She stopped, froze. Then her eyes shot up toward mine, filled with tears, real raw tears. I tried, she whispered. I tried to return them, but they said no. My breath caught. Who said no? Karen backed against the wall, shaking violently now. The agency, the one that placed them. They told me they needed a home, a temporary home. She pointed upstairs with a trembling finger. But she came back. Their mother. She found us. She tried to take them. She tried to break in. Suddenly everything connected, too fast, too dark to process. The scratch marks by the front door, the banging in the garage, the screams from the upstairs bedroom. These weren't signs of Karen abusing children. These were signs of a mother trying to get her children back. Or, worse, a mother trying to take them for a reason Karen feared. Where is the mother now? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Karen's lip quivered. Gone, she whispered. She took one. My heart dropped. Took one. Karen nodded slowly, her eyes glazing over with horror. There were 3 kids. I only have 2 left. A chill shot up my spine. Somewhere in this neighborhood, or far beyond, there was another child missing. And the woman who took them, whoever she was, had been desperate enough to fight her way into Karen's home. Why didn't you call the police? I demanded. Why didn't you tell anyone? Her laugh this time was different, broken, hollow. Because no one listens to me, Chief. No one ever has. You think I wanted to keep them here? You think I enjoyed this? She gestured around wildly. The locks, the darkness, the fear? I was trying to protect them. But everyone thinks I'm the crazy one. Everyone thinks I'm the villain. Her eyes sharpened in an instant, rage returning as quickly as it had vanished. And then your daughter started asking questions, started passing by my windows, started hearing things, seeing things. I couldn't risk her ruining everything. I couldn't risk her telling someone. And there it was, the reason she attacked Lily, the reason she dragged her across the street. In her twisted desperation, she believed Lily was a threat to her secret, a secret tied to a missing child, a frantic mother, a failed foster system, and a neighborhood that had no idea what darkness had been brewing behind the HOA's perfect lawns. I exhaled slowly. Karen, step aside. Let me get these kids out safely. Her chest rose and fell in wild, uneven bursts. I can't, she whispered, because if you take them, she'll come back. And she won't stop this time. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the upstairs hallway. The sound of a window shattering. Everyone flinched. The kid screamed and grabbed my arms. I spun toward the staircase, adrenaline surging. Something, or someone had broken into the house. Again, Karen's face drained of color. She's here, she whispered. She came back. I moved fast, stepping into the hallway, drawing my weapon this time. The house pulsed with tension. Every floorboard creaked like a warning. A breeze blew down the stairs, the unmistakable breeze of an open window. A shadow shifted at the top landing. I raised my weapon. This is the police chief, I warned. Step out where I can see you. No response. Just silence. Then another sound. Soft, unmistakable. A child's voice. Mom. The missing child. My heart pounded. Karen collapsed to her knees, sobbing, and at that exact moment I realized the truth. This wasn't just a neighborhood dispute anymore. This was a rescue mission trapped inside a nightmare, and I was the only one who could stop it before it destroyed everyone involved. The moment that small, trembling voice drifted down the staircase, Mom, the entire house shifted, its air thickening like a storm had blown through the walls. I moved instinctively, raising my weapon and positioning myself halfway up the stairs, my back angled to protect the 2 terrified children still clinging to the hallway corner. Karen remained collapsed on the floor below, shaking, muttering half-formed phrases. I tried. I did everything. I didn't want this, but I couldn't focus on her anymore. My attention locked onto the shadow at the top landing. A figure stepped forward slowly, one small hand gripping the edge of the banister. It was a child, a girl, no older than 9, her hair tangled, her cheeks streaked with dirt. Her wide eyes stared at me with a fear so raw it punched the air from my lungs. "It's okay," I said gently, lowering my weapon but keeping it ready. "You're safe now, sweetheart. Come here." Before she could take a step, another figure emerged behind her. Taller, rigid, eyes empty of warmth. A woman, thin, wild-haired, breathing hard like she'd been running for miles, and the moment her eyes locked with mine, I recognized the expression unhinged desperation. Not sadness, not fear, chaos. She pushed the child behind her and raised something shiny in her hand, a shattered piece of glass, jagged and trembling in her grip. "They're mine," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You don't get to take them. Nobody gets to take them again." I lifted a hand, slow, steady. "Ma'am, put the glass down. Let's talk. The kids are scared. You're scared. Nobody wants to hurt you." She shook her head, violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. "They took them from me. The agency took them. They said I wasn't stable. They lied. They wanted money. I followed them. I found out where they were sending them. I followed the van. I saw this woman," she pointed the bloody shard at Karen downstairs, "take them into her home. And I wasn't going to lose my babies again." The pieces clicked together hard and fast. These weren't kids Karen stole, they were kids the system placed with her. And this woman, this frantic, broken mother, had been hunting her children through neighborhoods, through darkness, through the cracks of a broken system that failed everyone involved. But that didn't justify the terror she had caused. The break-ins, the stalking, the third child she took. I kept my voice steady. "Where is the little boy? The one you took earlier?" Her breath hitched. Her grip on the glass tightened. "Safe," she whispered. "Hidden. Nobody can take him anymore." My chest tightened. "I can help him too. But you need to put the glass down." She took one shaky step toward me. The little girl behind her whimpered. That sound shattered something inside her. She collapsed forward, dropping the glass, sobbing so loudly it echoed off the walls. "I just wanted them back," she cried. "I didn't want to hurt anyone." I holstered my weapon and moved carefully, slowly, until I stood in front of her. She was trembling, eyes empty, defeated. "You need help," I said gently, "and they need safety. Let me get everyone out of here alive." After a long moment, she nodded. I took her hand. The child behind her clung to her leg, confused and exhausted. Together, we walked down the stairs. Karen watched from the bottom step, still on her knees, face pale with fear and relief and collapse, all blended together. When the mother saw her, the fear in her eyes flared again, but she didn't fight. She just whispered, "I didn't want her hurt. I didn't want your daughter hurt. I just panicked." I looked down at Karen, broken, shaking, her entire life unraveling at her feet. I looked at the mother, fractured, fragile, but clinging to a sliver of sanity. And then I looked outside, where my daughter Lily sat on the porch across the street, her face swollen from tears, her leg brace bent, wrapped in the arms of a neighbor. My heart cracked open. I stepped onto the porch with the children behind me, the mother quietly following. The remaining neighbors peeked through windows and cracked doors, watching with wide, stunned eyes as a wave of police backup finally arrived. Lights flashing silently per my order to avoid frightening the already traumatized kids. Officers guided the children toward waiting medics. The two in my arms didn't let go until they had to. Lily reached for me the moment I crossed the street. "Daddy, I'm okay," she whispered, though her voice betrayed the lie. I knelt in front of her, brushing dirt from her cheek. "No, sweetheart," I said softly. "You're not okay. And what happened to you was wrong. But you're safe now." Tears filled her eyes. "Will she hurt anyone else?" "No," I said firmly. "She won't." Karen was taken into custody, not out of punishment alone, but for psychiatric evaluation, investigation, and for answers the community deserved. The mother was also taken in gently placed under emergency mental health care, with detectives opening a missing child search immediately for the boy she'd hidden. The children went with child services, wrapped in blankets, holding stuffed animals officers rushed to grab from their trunks. As the chaos settled and my daughter leaned into my chest, trembling but breathing steadily, I realized something. This neighborhood would never be the same. But justice? Justice had finally begun. And this time, no one would silence the truth. Before this story closes, I want to speak directly to you, the one watching right now. What happened to my daughter? What happened to those children? What happened inside that perfectly painted HOA neighborhood? It wasn't just a story. It was a reminder. A reminder that sometimes the people who scream the loudest about rules are hiding the darkest secrets. A reminder that disability is not weakness, and no child should ever fear walking down their own street. A reminder that a community doesn't fall apart because of one evil act. It falls apart when good people stay silent. So, I want to ask you something important before you scroll away. Backhand index pointing right. What would you have done if you saw someone dragging a disabled child across the street? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever witnessed something wrong and stayed quiet or stepped in? Tell me in the comments. Your voice matters more than you know. And if you believe every child deserves safety, if you believe justice should never be ignored, if you believe stories like this need to be heard, backhand index pointing right, subscribe right now so you never miss another truth that needs to be exposed. Backhand index pointing right, like this video so YouTube pushes it to more people who need this message. Backhand index pointing right, share it with someone who needs to remember that courage still exists. Thank you for watching, and remember, justice only happens when someone stands up for it.